This podcast is brought to you by Taaffes Bar. Taaffes Bar are Galway's #1 GA pub in the heart of the Latin Quarter with live Irish music twice a day.
So delighted now to be joined by Barry Cullinane for this week's edition of the Power Rankings after round two of the Senior Football Championship and the opening round of the Intermediate Football Championship. So we're going to go through the Power Rankings for both of those grades. Is it getting any easier now, Barry?
It's like it's not really in that like the top two or three teams in each will probably remain the top two or three, and then like the team that group of teams that are in the middle, they'll just be beating each other week in week out, and we'll be changing it here and there because there's very little between them, and a team that maybe ranked 12th or 13th, you could justifiably wonder why they're not ranked 8th or ninth. And I think we've upset. Well, this is our third week now. Week one and week two, we've upset certain clubs. So who knows? Could be 3 out of 3.
We'll be avoiding Caltra now for a while.
Yeah, I'm avoiding both ends of the county now. I can't go into town because of the Michaels lads, and I can't go down to the North Galway because of the Caltra lads. But yeah, look, in fairness to them, I think if they listened to the podcast last week, I did say that if rumours of the two Manions being involved were true, then that would shove them right up the table because the guys bring so much in terms of their footballing ability, but also their leadership and their work rate and all that goes with that. And I think the result at the weekend against a team that Corofin intermediates were in the county semi final last year. They were in Division 3A, if memory serves me right. I think they finished fourth in 3A. Caltra finished top of 4A, which is technically Division 5. So, I think they were, you know, they weren't in the quarter. I know they were looking at to go to the quarter final last year. They weren't there. So, maybe 13th was a tad low, but I think they're after the result of the weekend, we'll see that they're back up and running.
You can see the senior power rankings here, can you?
Yeah, I can. And, unfortunately for a lot of the teams at the bottom, um, things haven't improved dramatically. Garda Strand showed, I don't think, can't remember the final score in that game. I was doing it for Galway Bay, but the goal at the end probably didn't put a fair reflection on exactly the nature of the game. Wasn't the best game in the world. Um, Carlos Strand were really up for it. They tried to play the game on their terms, and maybe Salthill bought into that a little bit. Um, and I think, but as I mentioned, they just probably don't have enough punch up front that's going to really cause teams problem. Loads of spirit, loads of heart, loads of traditional Carlos Strand kind of features of strong physical, wanting to go and turn teams over. I said just up front that they just don't seem to have the firepower. Um, so that has left them in the same position, and they've added extra more. Again, probably a little bit unlucky against Stand Down. Um, that keeps them at the bottom. Where are we going? Yeah, Anna Down didn't change. I don't think the result against Lettermore probably, they weren't great against Lettermore. I think they'll admit that themselves. I don't know, were you at that game?
No, I wasn't at it now myself, but they seem to be in control, went down to 14 men and kind of held on at the end, you could say. I suppose at this stage, it's a win and a win, and they're back on track. But realistically, they probably would have been looking to win that game a bit more comfortably.
Yeah, exactly. I think St James has put up a real good battle against Mike Cullen. Keeps them where they are. I don't think that they didn't set the world alight, but they certainly didn't. They certainly didn't roll over. Um, uh, Again, I'll probably get a bit of stick from the St Michael's lads, but I think 1-1 against Montbellew Mylock isn't good. I think from talking to a couple of Montbellew lads, the goal was a bit fortunate at the start of the game. So Lord knows what the score could have been. So I think that performance, and again, that uh, that's not overly a reflection on St Michael's. I think Montbellew Mylock are just going really, really well. And teams they have played Claregalway, who will come to. the real battle for them now. It'll be hugely interesting to see that Corofin game and see or sorry, not Corofin, see them play Tuam as well now as Claregalway, having bet Claregalway to see what to do against Tuam, because they're going really, really well, and it'll be interesting to see can they continue that form.
Just as well there, just we didn't really touch on it on 14th and 15th, Dunmore McHale's and Spittle. I suppose Dunmore McHale's probably jump up one on the back of Spittle losing 2 in a row.
Yeah, 100%. And Milltown are going well. In fairness to them, they're everything that they've been asked to do, they're doing it, and they were comfortable against Spidgale and like I probably looking at personally, I was probably, when I was looking at the Milltown panel at the start of the year, I was probably looking very much at the older generation, and maybe that they were an aging team and didn't put enough focus on maybe some of the younger fellas that they've coming through. So like we know what Jack Curran, Liam Costello's brother is a really, really good footballer. So they're getting 2 or 3, 4 really good young footballers through, and backed up by the older brigade. They've made a really, really good start to the championship, and unfortunately for Spidgale, they haven't, and they now find themselves in a bit of a problem situation.
Yeah, so just to run over that again, that's 17th to 10th. So 17th, Daphne Van Leshmore, 16th, Caltra, 15th, Spidale, down 1 place. Dunmore McHale's up 1 place. Anna Down and St. James's remain in the same position. St. Michael's down 2 places. And Milltown up 1 place. So we're just going to move now into the top half. I'll just run through this before we get into it. So Barnard down 1 place. Cullinane are down 1 place. Oughterard down 1 place. Tuam Stairs down 1 place, Claregalway up 5 places, Sawhill remain where they are, Corofin down 1 place, Montbellew up 1 place, and my Cullen remain top of the table. So it's kind of, with the results here we've had in Group B, Berna drawn their opening 2 games, Cullinane competing well with Corofin, and then Oughterard down 1 place. Like, they're all kind of fitting in at the same category there from 7th to 9th.
Yeah, but look, Cullinane and Barna, they drew the weekend, and that puts them, could Cullinane say they should be 8th? Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it. But sorry, Oughterard and Barna drew the weekend, so that's and Cullinane and Barna had drew. Apologies. So that was my thing on that. So you're looking at 7th, 8th, 9th, 3 teams that there's very, very little between. They're all looking like they're dropping 1, probably on the back of Claregalway's performance. And that's not just me being a Claregalway person. I was hugely impressed. I did question them heavily after their first round performance against Montbellew Malach. Maybe to suggestions now that was just because it was the first round of the championship. Tuam Stars started the game really, really well. I think they were 7-1 up, maybe not 8-1 up in Claregalway. Fortunate-ish to get a goal. That brilliant finish by Darren Hennessy. Then he backed it up. He got a second one. Claregalway, looked like they were going to go in at halftime level. Ended up, with a bit of a boo-boo of a goal. Ended up going in 4 down, but took over the second half, albeit with a strong breeze, and played really, really well. Jack Lynn powered into the game. Nathan Granger kicked some really, really good scores. Conor Flaherty got a couple of really good scores. Jason Riley from wing back was causing Tuam all sorts of problems, and they went from a position where Tuam looked all over the winners to finding the resolve to go and win the game, and I think rightly so, pushed them right back up the table. And you'd have to say, looking like a team, probably looks like the team best kitted out to go and challenge the top brass. Still, I would say it's still a good bit off my Cullen, Montbellew, Malach and Corofin, but we'll certainly be looking to a county quarter final, and if they got a favourable draw, looking at a semi-final.
How significant is it for Claregalway, this group, to beat, you could say, the first big team, really?
Hugely significant, because no offense to the teams that are left with the St. Michael's, the Glenamaddies, they will be if at the start of the year you were looking at fixtures where you could go and win, then they were the teams, the Dunmores, they were the games that Claregalway would be saying, we need to take maximum points from that and then hope we get a result against one of the two bigger teams, Tuam or Mount Ballymoylough. They now have got a result against one of the two bigger teams. And I suppose the challenge for Claregalway now is that they have to go and take maximum points from the other games. And that is a challenge because they have had a level of inconsistency previously. They'll be saying when they go back to training tonight or whenever they went back to training that they really need to push on and power on and take the initiative from here on in.
Team down one place.
Yeah, just literally just on the back of the Claregalway defeat, I still think they'll have a huge say in this championship. And when they did play well in the first half, they played some really, really good football. The young Heenan, a wing back, thought he was excellent. In the first half, Cormac Caltra was causing Jack Glynn problems, got some really good scores. Ben O'Connell. The loss of Brian Mannion was a big loss to them. He came on, so it'll be interesting to see where he fits in for the rest of the championship. But Tuam will still have a big say in it, and they'll still fancy their chances of picking up enough points to go through either in second place or as one of the top third teams.
So Tilton in fourth.
Yeah, hanging on now. I must say, no, you have to preface it by saying the last day, I'm sure they were down more, but off the top of my head, they were down Garrett Armstrong, John Maher went off early, Rob Finnerty went off, Tom O'Cullinane didn't start. Is that it? Can't really think of anyone else. So they're down a lot of players, but I just didn't think that they showed anything hugely significant against Carlisle. If in fairness to Cathal Sweeney, I thought he was excellent. He was really trying to carry the fight to them and got two great scores and a constant threat. Donald Hunt good. So Rob Finnerty was excellent for the time he was on. Just got a couple of great frees and was really, 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 really good in terms of his ball winning ability. And so Tilnach and Carr was still a big say in this championship. Just think they need to find a little bit of a spark. I just thought it was a bit flat at the weekend.
They're down one place based on probably making the hard work out of Cullinane, and then there's the news that obviously Ian Burke won't be involved, and now Jason Leonard going travelling.
Yeah, and the other side of it is Montpellier was comfortable. Montpellier really comfortable win over St. Michael's. They just look very, very good, and getting Michael Daly back now talks Patrick Kelly will feature at some stage. They're like getting two new players back for them. They're big leaders. They're physical. Similar to Mike Cullen. Everything looks like it's pointed in a really, really good direction for them, and you'd have to say that the top two teams look like they're the top two. Corfin pushing, but you have to say the top two look really strong.
And what was it? Just to think, was it just based on that why Corfin are down one place?
Yeah, I think we touched on a lot. As I said, I watched the Corfin Cullinane game. They didn't look great at times. And then, as I said, you throw in that they're not going to have Ian Burke, they're not going to have Jason Leonard, who has been playing really, really well. I just think that's a negative. Is it a knockout blow for their championship expectations? Absolutely not. But if we're looking at trying to rank these teams, it is a negative. Where Mount Ballymoylough get Michael Daly back and the talk of Patrick Kelly coming back, and they comprehensively defeat St. Michael's, that's a positive. So I think that just flips that around on that basis.
And Mike Collins still remain a top spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be the first to hold my hands up. Probably, I was probably swayed too much by last year's county final in terms of sorting out Cara's performance. Mike Cullen have done everything that has been asked of them so far and done it really, really well. They're just a classy outfit. You can always tell the team knows what they're about, and they certainly know what they're about, and they certainly know where they want to go. And there's only one thing, when you think of my Cullen, Montpellier, my Loch, Corfin, there's only one thing in their mind. It's not getting out of the group. It's going and trying to win this championship.
So we're just going to move on now to the intermediate power rankings. You can see them now there, Barry, can you?
Yeah, sure can. Yeah.
Yep. So this is the from 9 to 16th here in the intermediate power rankings. So we have St. Gabriel's in 16th, Williamstown in 15th, Clifton in 14th, Killearn down 1 place, Kilcarrick-Clonberne down 1 place, Ongarrow down 4 places, St. Brendan's Ballygary down 2 places, and Ormore Mary in 9th. A bit of movement here, Barry, but towards kind of the bottom of these power rankings, from 16 to 14, those teams remain the same.
Yeah, it gives me no great satisfaction to say that, but I just think, now, in fairness to Clifton, I think Mullivay Abbey will have a huge say in this championship. So, I think they got bet by 7 or 8 points in that game. That's not a reflection of that. I think a lot of the changes is down to Caltra's brilliant win over Corofin. So them jumping up means other teams have to come down. Micheál Brannach's also had a really, really good win against Carton Shamrocks. I'm not sure, would they have been favourites for that? And then St. Brendan's had a good win over Williamstown. So nothing really changes. Killearn, probably, I think it was a 4 points. They were bet Illanar bet them by, Killearn could be up there a bit higher, but I just think at the moment that group between more St. Brendan's, Carrew and Kilcarrick-Clonberne, Killearn is very, very tight, and you could bunch them up and throw them into any position, and no one could really argue too much with you, but teams have to find themselves in some sort of position.
Yeah, so as you mentioned there, from 13th then Killearn, they're the kind of first team to jump down. Kilkerran jumped down 1 place after probably be happy enough with the way they competed against Kilconnelly, considering they were out with their main forward Johnny Ryan at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. They did, but they didn't win. I suppose that's the bottom line. And yeah, without Johnny Ryan and obviously without Shane, that puts them under a bit of pressure. And as I said, look, if Caltra didn't perform the way they did, I think all these teams will probably just stay in the position that they've stayed in. Kilcarrick-Clonberne, I'm sure, could say they after their performance they deserve to be higher up the table. But then again, most teams that are up there will say above them will say that they should be higher up the table. Do St. Brendan's deserve to drop 2 places? Don't think so. But as I said, just on the performance of other teams, it's just that's the way the cookie has crumbled on this one.
Ongarrow came down from senior. They're down 4 places now at 11th place.
Yeah, I just think 8 points just isn't enough. Yeah, Glenamaddy are strong, but Ongarrow were a senior team last year. Glenamaddy were bet in the quarter final, I think, last year, wasn't it? Would it be?
Yeah, lost after extra time.
Yeah, lost after extra time to Kilconnelly. So you're looking at a team that lost an intermediate quarter final last year against a team who played senior championship last year, and the team that played senior championship only scored 8 points. I just don't think it was good enough. And that's like Ongarrow is like, what a club, what a tradition, what players they've produced. Just at the moment, unfortunately, they're playing personnel. They're down players, and unfortunately, they're just finding it a bit difficult at the moment.
Yes, now we're moving into the top 8. So Curvin B are down 2 places. Caltra up 6. They're the biggest movers this week across the senior and intermediate power rankings. Carton Shamrocks down 1. Micheál Brannach's up 5. Illanar down 1. Mullivay Abbey down 1, and Glenamaddy and Kilconnelly remain in the same position. As you referenced there, Caltra, the biggest movers this week, they go above Curvin B, who they bet at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, like when we talked about it last week, we did say that if the Manions are back with Caltra on top of the good work that they've been doing, then that changes everything for them. They had a brilliant performance scored well, 110, good score, didn't concede a huge amount, and they'll be absolutely delighted with the performance. And as I said, no more than Claregalway, the challenge for them now is to go. I think I can't remember 100%. I think they had a really good result in they beat Micheál Brannocks or draw Micheál Brannocks in the or not sure who. They had a really good result anyway in the first round of their championship last year, and they just didn't get out of the group. Yeah, they were really unlucky. So the challenge for them will be now to go and put points on the board and make sure they find themselves in a quarter final. And wouldn't it be brilliant? It'd be brilliant for all the clubs, but wouldn't it be brilliant for Galway football to see Caltra back in senior and pushing, because like they have given Galway football so much. I think everyone would be delighted to see that. And I think there's a typo there, Paul. So just in case the Monavea Abbey lads are coming after me,
yes.
they've gone up one place.
Yeah,
So
I'll change that now.
Just in case that I'm barred from Monavea as well as Caltra and St. Michael's. But yeah, so like Caltra, big jump for them. Micheál Brannocks, big jump for them. Like I would have thought Cortoon would have won that game. Shows how much I know. Some of those lads on Twitter are probably right. But yeah, huge result for them, and by all accounts played really well. So again, that's a big confidence boost for them, and they'll be looking to take that into the next games.
Yeah, just then, Cortoon sixth, well bet at the weekend. The loss of Paul Verley at the minute, they're probably feeling that with his cruciate injury. But Micheál Brannocks up 5 places, and they're a team, like even at the weekend, they bet Cortoon comfortably. They're a team that really seemed like they can cause an upset.
Yeah, look, Paul Varley's a huge loss to Cortoon Shamrocks, but I would have expected them to score more than 6 points. And again, if you're looking at what you're looking at in a game, you're looking to score well. Brannocks kicked 112. You're looking to defend well. They conceded 6 points. They're hugely positive figures. And Cortoon Shamrocks be really disappointed. I think they've Kilconnelly in their next game. And this group doesn't get any easier for them. So if they don't pick up points in that, then if Micheál Brannocks were to go and beat Kilcurran Clonberne, then that's a huge game in that final game between Kilconnelly and or Cortoon Shamrocks and Kilcurran Clonberne, and what would be a very local derby. So that group is so tough. Like when you think about it, you have 3. We were looking at the top 8 here. Like you've 3 of the top 8 in that in my judgment, for whatever accounts, you've 3 of the top 8 within that group. So it shows you how competitive it is.
Then just 4th Illinois and 3rd Monavea Abbey. Monavea Abbey obviously up a place after their strong win against Clifton at the weekend, and then Illinois are probably just down a place after getting over the line against Kildare.
Yeah, I would be a couple of things just in terms of Monavea Abbey. I think getting when they're looking for a bounce, I think bringing back Bunty Roach, and shrewd enough on him bringing in Michael Farrer, I think that's really good. And all the signals coming from Monavea Abbey are good. And to kick 115 is, no matter who we're playing in Clifton are no daws either. They're strong, they're competitive. Kick 115 and that is good shooting. And I would probably hazard a guess that before we finish up on these power rankings, that Monavea Abbey might sneak closer to the top of this, and they'll certainly be pushing to be back up and playing senior football next year. And they've a big one. They have a big one in the next round against the Corfin intermediate team. If they win that, then that puts them in a really strong position.
Then just 2nd and 1st, Glenamaddy and Kilconnelly. No change there.
No change. Glenamaddy did well, 1-8 against on Carrua. Winton won the game. A game that probably would have been tough enough against the team, the seniors that were playing senior championship last year. So you can't knock them. were they hugely impressive? From what I gather, they weren't, you know, they weren't box office stuff, but they went and did what they had to do, so you can't fault them on that. And Kilconley, that Kilconley Clanburn,
Yeah,
two
but 2 points.
five, 2 points, yeah, 2-5 to 9 points. Again, you wouldn't be writing home about it, but they did enough, and I suppose you're probably looking at the second game now. They play Cork Shamrocks in the next one, so as we said, that'll probably tell you more. Very difficult after the first round of this to see exactly where every team is, but you're looking at what the second round can tell you to really see who's going to go and push to get to the business end of this championship.
Yeah, loads of movement there in the intermediate and senior throughout the weekend. But that's what it's all about. Just before we finish, Barry, I just want to touch on it with you. The under 20 nominations were put forward um this week, and obviously you have Donald Farrell, who was there last year, who's been nominated again. Alan Glynn, the Galway minor manager, has been nominated. But probably a bit of a surprise, somewhat, that the third name there, Derek Savage, has been there. But it's just fantastic to see that he's putting his name forward now.
Yeah, I wouldn't see it as a surprise. I think once someone of Savo's mentality and like his driving, I know the way Adrian Barley spoke about him, I was lucky enough to play with him for a couple of years. I would imagine he doesn't be telling people he was lucky enough to play with me, but I was lucky enough to play with Savo and see what he brings to the table in terms of um his, I suppose, his ability to communicate. Well, I'll take football out of it. We know what he did. Just like a Rolls Royce of a corner forward in terms of what you want. But his communication skills, excellent. His people skills, excellent. And I think in work he deals with people a lot. So I'm not surprised once I saw he was over a Galway under 16 team. To me, like, you know, with his personality, he sees those as stepping stones. And I would say when Savo looks at where he wants to go in his managerial career, there's probably only one job that he's looking for, and it's not to stop at the go in the 20s. And I would say if he gets it, as you know, we're lucky with three excellent candidates. Donal O'Flaherty has been what I would like when I think of Donal O'Flaherty, I just think like what a servant to Galway football. He's given the time he has given to copious amount of players, and it's not a Donal O'Flaherty show. It's all about Galway. There's no ego. There's no, I suppose, he doesn't have a personality that's saying, look at me. Everything he does, he tries and does for the betterment of the players. I'm not sure, is he, where he's going? Is he going for the job? Is he going to be interviewed for the job? Alan Glynn, showed huge resilience 2 years ago to go and win that All Ireland minor, and um, the ability to keep the players on track, even though they suffered a couple of defeats, is very, very admirable. And whoever gets it will do a fantastic job, and we're in a lucky position to have three really good candidates.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how that peters out over the next few weeks. But like as Barry mentioned, there are three excellent candidates. That's all we have on this week's edition of the Galway Senior and Intermediate Club Championship Power Rankings.